Hello, good evening to all of you.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Father.
Let me just try to adjust my light, see if there is.
This link was already open. We were chatting there, but the link.
The other one, my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also entered the other one first and then.
There was a small communication gap. Actually, that Zoom platform is owned by my bishop. He had another meeting today. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So
We hope Bishop was not listening to our chat.
can't see that. When he starts his meeting, it will show that this platform is in another meeting, and he can end that meeting and begin.
Okay.
No problem. Nothing will happen. Father Augustine is here in Wayanad, near Manandawadi, in one of our ashrams, teaching philosophy of science to the seminarians, and he doesn't have enough network coverage to join for today's session. Yeah. So I think we will begin with the prayer. Madam Kamala Devi, she has joined. Yeah. Shall we begin, Father Kuruvilla?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think Father Augustine had asked Mr. Hodai to lead the prayer. Yeah, let's begin with the prayer.
Yeah. Just a minute, let me open. Okay. Oh God, give us increase in your blessings and don't take from us. Honor us and don't humiliate us. Bestow on us and don't deprive us. Favor us, make us well pleased and be well pleased with us. O most compassionate of compassionate. Amen. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I think as Father Pamplani had informed us in the WhatsApp group, the first lecture from 8 p.m. to 8:30 is led by Madam Kamala Devi on Aristotle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because good evening, Kuru.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. What happened last lecture, I could not complete Aristotle's some parts, so that I will complete, and there may be interaction after that, and we'll see, Father, what happens.
Yeah, sure.
Madam Kamala,
Yes.
speak for about say 20 to 30 minutes. 20 minutes, if we can complete 10 minutes, we can have interaction. In 30 minutes, we will wind up. Then
Yes.
Kuruvilla will take up on medieval philosophy, madam.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Why
father
did-
was in a fake ID. Sorry.
Okay. So I don't know.
Noble, can you share?
The sharing option is on. She can do that.
I kept my video off since my connectivity is weak. That's why.
Yes, I think. I stopped. Sorry. Metaphysics, Aristotle's metaphysics. Sorry. Yeah, development of Aristotle's metaphysics. The concept of substance. Father, you want me to go backward and review?
This would be enough, mother. This would be fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. This I had done how he disagreed with Plato. You remember why he had the forms? Yeah. So then further I will go. Yeah. So yeah. So the concept of substance can be understood only in terms of form and matter. That is what Aristotle felt after disagreeing with Plato, and where he finds that Plato's ideas or forms are not together with the material things, and which he found was very difficult to accept. And so he thinks of putting form and matter together. It not only captures the universal characteristics, but also the particularity of particular things. His concept, Aristotle's concept, or his metaphysics. And now further, the form constitutes the object's essence, while matter is the particular of that form, the principle of individuation. It distinguishes the individual member of a particular class that shares the same form. Yeah. So further, we should also learn that his form and matter, he connects it to the most important concepts of actuality and potentiality. So far, this very clearly was not brought out by early Greek philosophers. This concept of actuality and potentiality, somehow I feel it is something new that he is introducing, and to address maybe the problem of being and becoming. Now he also addresses another philosophical, that is what the problem is of being and becoming. Then he introduced the four causes: material cause, efficient cause, formal cause, and the final cause. Then further, he reduced these four causes into two principles, that of form and matter, which we are talking about now. And then some features of these two principles: form and matter are inseparable from each other. Form is universal and matter is particular. But these are relative concepts. They flow into each other. From this conception, naturally, the concept of potentiality and actuality flows. And what is actualized is the form. So very briefly, form and matter are inseparable from each other, meaning wherever there is form, there should be matter. And matter cannot exist without form, and form cannot exist without matter. So very much is opposed to Plato's world of ideas being separated from the world of particulars here. And from form is universal and matter is particular, meaning all the qualities, the essence as such is with the form, that is the universal. The qualities are universal. That's why the form is universal. And every particular entity or member of that universal concept shares those properties which are universally present in that concept. But these are relative concepts. That's what Aristotle feels, that they are not absolute like, and that's why they flow into each other. Meaning, whatever we consider as matter at time 1 may be called as the form at time 2. And so the same thing may become matter and form at different times. So that is what is meant by the relativity. Like the tree and the wood present there, and the wood as a material cause, and the furniture which is potentially there in the wood, but later on becomes actual when it gets the form. So from one particular time, they may be looked upon as the form, and at a particular time, the same thing may be looked upon as the matter. So from this, then therefore, very much connected with this is the concept of actuality and potentiality. Whatever is potentially there becomes actualized. So they also are very much connected along with the form and matter principle. And therefore, what is actualized is the form. But the form was already present in the matter. When it comes to with reference to time, we may see the actualization of the form later. But potentially it was there right from the beginning, guiding the matter, what it has to become. So this is the telos, the purpose which is present in the form, as which is called as universal in nature. Now I'll come to his teleology, that what is the universal form? The telos, the God, is the unmoved mover. So God is the form of the form, and God is the thought of the thought. All right. So if there is an interaction on this later, we will discuss this. Now in God also there is form and matter inseparable according to Aristotle. However, God does not become an individual in a particular form which is material, but God exists as substance, and God is the unmoved mover. And according to Aristotle, we have to have this concept of unmoved mover, God as the unmoved mover. Otherwise, we would go into that infinite regress, because at every point we will ask who moved the particular entity we are talking about. So to avoid that regression, Aristotle makes God the unmoved mover, who is introducing motion in all the and objects existing in this world. Now, little bit we talk about ethics, Aristotelian virtue ethics. Keeping things in balance is the most important aim and motto of Aristotle. And virtue is a state of character. Whatever the human beings are, we know our nature. So 1 minute. Yes. Yeah, sorry for that. So virtue is a state of character, meaning whatever we are as common men, and how do we understand ourselves with whatever our nature is, that we move to the extremities. Sometimes we observe that. So Aristotle wants to be in a balanced, for everybody, all of us we have a balanced view, and that will come with our choice. And his theory of ethics may be called as the golden mean theory, and where he states that we will seek a golden mean without going to the extreme views regarding anything. For example, let it be regarding say the talking that we do. We do observe that some people are too much when they talk. Every moment they would like to talk. They are talkative to one extreme. And we do find people who are, reserved. And so both extremes are to be avoided. And we should have a balanced view of our behavior, of any action that we do, and how we should be guided by our practical wisdom in this matter, according to Aristotle. Okay, yeah, I have explained this, why God should be the unmoved mover, and why God as the, so last one I'll come to, God as the thought of thought. So since God is the form and God is already perfect, and when we talk about the common man, we always have something or other as the object of our thought. The other objects that we find around, they become the object of our thought. But since God is perfect and God is the form, ultimate form, how can we think that God can have some other thing when he is thinking? So that is not possible. Therefore, God is thought and God thinks about himself in that thought. And therefore, God is thought of thought. Now, little bit, I'll come to Aristotle's view of the soul or of soul. Now, since no dissection of human bodies was allowed during his time, Aristotle learned about the human bodies largely by analogies with the animal bodies that we all of us know about it, investigated into social behavior of men and women. Then how could he think about this? So he then out of imagination, out of his own experience, out of the experience that he had of people around him, whatever he experienced in the world, based on that social behavior, whatever he could observe, he is coming with a theory of the soul. Now, soul or psyche is the vital life drive found in all living things. That is what he accepted. And then he talks about three types of souls. The nutritive soul in plants, that is present in plants, gives to each organism and each species an identity. And it sustains all its functions to achieve its natural end. So, given a seed, for example, if it gets the proper condition, wherever, whatever it is, it will germinate. It will germinate, it will become a sapling, it will become a tree. In due course of time, it may die, meet an end, but only when its purpose is fulfilled. That's what it is. And that with that, it also gets its identity, what it is, what it was. And then he talks about another type of soul, the sensitive soul, shared by all animals, including human beings. It tells us something about our own capacities that we have. Like we are prone to higher sensitivities, feelings of emotion, and remembering everything of the past, and then how we have to adapt ourselves to the problems that we have, taking the cues from the memories of the past, and progress further. And the third type of soul he talks about as the rational soul, possessed only by humans, which enables a human being to reason and thus to transcend the limiting conditions of lower forms of life. That is, being rational, what we have to do in life, and that we behave in a very different manner because of our rational faculty, that we can distinguish between animals and humans because of this faculty that we possess of rationality. And according to Aristotle, at death, this unity dissolves of soul and body. Neither soul nor body can survive dissolution. And also he talks about antilechi, meaning something that deals with our goal, what we are striving towards. And he feels that our goal is eudaimonia, that is happiness. And a rational soul is only the one which can bring pleasantness in soul, pleasantness in soul. And so because it deserves it. And if we have everything in life, but we are not happy in life, then sometimes we feel that we have not achieved all that in life that we should have achieved. Many times this is difficult for us to recognize. I don't know whether it is the proper word, identify maybe, to find out whether when we are happy, when we are not. It is not a temporary thing that we experience. Happiness, something that happens in our life and we cherish it. It's not something that we eat and then we enjoy and we say, I'm happy. We say, I found it good, it gave me pleasure. So there's a distinction between pleasure and happiness here. So happiness is to be cherished in life. Yeah, so there I stop, and here are some of the references which we provide for further study. Thank you so much. Yes, Father. Yes, Father Kuru. Have I finished in time?
Yeah, very well, very well. You did complete it. Can you pull out your screen, madam? Stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Then any quick clarifications anybody wishes to make with Madam Kamala, please come up now. Yeah. We see Augustine and Aquinas are very much an extension of Aristotle. So several of the ideas which Madam shared with us will be revisited by Kuruvilla now, right now. Again, also you can make your intervention. But any quick clarifications now, you are welcome. Okay, then we will switch over to the medieval philosophy mainly. Medieval philosophy is mainly known as the Christian philosophy because it was done mostly by Christian theologians. Of course, Islamic philosophy also gained some momentum during this period, which we will be doing in another lecture. Okay. So Saint Augustine, Saint Anselm, Saint Thomas Aquinas, and much of the categories which we will be doing in our science theology program, those concepts you will be introduced to by Father Kuruvilla. in today's lecture. Saint Augustine's, Thomas Aquinas' famous proofs for God's existence, Saint Anselm's special argument for God's existence, and other problematics involved in anthropology, theology, ethics, and so on. That will be our focus. So welcome to Father Kuruvilla. You will begin with Saint Augustine. I believe Kuruvilla doesn't require an introduction right now because he has been there since last year also, especially when we launched this program on November 1, I had introduced. Okay, over to you, Father Kuruvilla. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Father Augustine.
Ah.
So we will talk about Saint Augustine. Now, Augustine, this your patron is Saint Augustine, no?
Ah, yeah, my patron.
By the way, there are two Augustines,
Ah.
two Saint Augustines.
Ah.
One, of course, is the saint we are going to do today. He is actually from North Africa. He is the most famous of the other Augustine. Other Augustine is Augustine of Canterbury from the United Kingdom. He is not well known, but anyway, it is good to know that there are two Augustines, saints and also theologians. The Augustine we are going to deal with is Saint Augustine of Hippo, North Africa. I have just made a brief introductory slide. After that, we will go into the notes that Augustine has given us. So let me share the...
Would you like to show that note also on the screen, Kuruvilla?
Notes I will go over a little later. First, just to get some kind of an introduction, I will share a brief PPT. Okay, can you all see this slide?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Augustine, remember the dates. That is actually in 354 to 430. 354 would be in the 4th century. 430, as you know, would be in the 5th century. So it is around the 5th century. Hippo is actually the place where he reigned, and Hippo is in North Africa, and he was also born in Algeria, in North Africa. For the Christians present, you know that on 15th of May, two saints would be, or actually 3 people will be declared saints. Any idea who they are? 2 or 3 people would be declared saints by the present Pope, Pope Francis, on 15th May. One of them is from South India, Deva Sagayan. He is also called Blessed Lazar. The other one worked and died in Algeria. He was originally from France. He is Charles de Foucault. Charles de Foucault, he would be declared a saint, and he died in Algeria, North Africa. And for Augustine, I want you always to remember him with her mother, Monica. It is said that Augustine in the beginning was a very ambitious youth, studied hard, but he was too worldly, not a spiritual person. It is because of the prayers of Saint Monica, the long prayers of Saint Monica, that Augustine is converted and became a Catholic, Christian, and then a saint. This is one of the photos that I have taken from the internet. Now, this is the photo of him as a bishop. You see the cap, you see the mitre. That is the photo of St. Augustine as a bishop. There are quite many books written by Augustine, but I want you by all means to know the names of these 2 books. First is Augustine's own Confessions. Confession is a kind of autobiography, but he gives the name confession. You know, for the Christians, confession is when someone acknowledges their sins and say either publicly or most of the time privately, goes to a priest and confession of sins. Okay, of course, in the book Confessions, Augustine speaks about some of the sins that he committed, but in a very general way. But this book is autobiographical, a kind of a confession of the sins, but more it is philosophy and theology. And then the other book, The City of God. The City of God is opposed to the city of man, city of human beings. So Augustine, like Plato, thinks about the world of forms and the world of matter. We should be worried about the other world, the world of God, not the world of men. That is why Augustine is very much influenced by Plato. Augustine is one of the most influential Platonic theologians and philosophers who has influenced the Christian world. So, what Kamala Devi spoke of, Plato and Augustine, they are very close because Augustine has tried to combine Platonic insights into the Christian life. While the other author we'll be talking about, Thomas Aquinas, he would be combining Aristotle, not Plato, to the Christian ideas. So, Augustine is a Christian Platonist, while Aquinas is a Christian Aristotle. So these two books, Confessions and The City of God. Augustine is a champion of human freedom, and he is a defender of predestination. Predestination means that your destiny, whether you go to heaven, whether you will go to hell, that is already decided by God when you are born. So, human freedom, predestination, and thirdly, maybe it is because of Augustine that we have a very negative understanding of our human body and of sexuality. You know, initially, in the beginning, he was too worldly. He went about being very, very ambitious, worldly, and he had sex with a few women also. Then after the conversion, he made a radical U-turn and he spoke against the world, the body, and sexuality. The parents of Augustine were respectable Roman society. He lived mostly in Africa, but he went also to Milan, Italy, and studied there. Studied rhetoric. That was what most people studied in those days. Rhetorics, the art of talking, knowledge, trying to convince the opponents. That is rhetoric. Then the science of that time he studied. And he left Africa and went to Rome to make a career. But then he came back. Then he had a son, Adeodatus. And Adeodatus means the gift of God. And unfortunately, this son died and he left his lover and he became a Christian by conversion. So he had a very unique ability to write at a highly theoretical level for the very, very intellectual readers. But besides his writings, he would give sermons, homilies, or reflections which ordinary people could understand. He was the bishop of Hippo, and two of the heresies means wrong belief. Two of the wrong beliefs he attacked are Manichaeism and Pelagianism. Manichaeism says that there are two principles, the principle of the good and the principle of bad, the light and the darkness. To some extent, this Manichaeism is connected to Zoroastrianism or Gnosticism. So these two principles are fighting in the world, the principle of light and the principle of darkness. Now, according to Manichaeism, which Augustine was against, we don't know ultimately who will win. Augustine would, of course, say that the good principle, that is God, would finally win. But this is the important point for you to note. Because Augustine was against or fighting Manichaeism, many of the Manichaeistic ideas came into his own writing, even against his will. For example, the idea that the body is very, very bad, evil. That was a Manichaeistic principle. Still, he fought against it, and then indirectly it came to his idea. The second one was Pelagianism. Pelagianism is the theory that I can attain my own salvation through my own effort. By being good, by doing good action, I can attain fulfillment or salvation. Augustine fought against this theory also. Augustine said, no, by doing good work, you cannot save your soul. Your soul can be saved only by the grace of God, only by God, and it is a gift from God, Pelagianism. And that is why Augustine believed in predeterminism. Predeterminism means you are saved already by God at the moment of your birth. By doing good work, you cannot save yourself. God only can save yourself. So, to sum up, Plato influenced Augustine. Body versus the soul. The sex, the body, this world is evil. We should be aspiring to live in the city of God, not in the city of men. So this is the summary of Plato. We will go into more elaborate discussion later. Just have a look at it once again. North Africa, Hippo, Saint Monica, Confession, City of God, champion of human freedom, predestination, against Pelagianism. Sex he considered bad. He was a very restless, ambitious man, but he became a Catholic, very much committed and convinced, became a bishop, fought against Manichaeism and Pelagianism. Okay. Do you have any general comments on Augustine? Okay, then if you have, you can ask. Then what I'll do is
does Augustine have any reason for the predetermination, predestination of any reason for that?
See, it is a theological position. It is a theological position in the sense, if you read the Bible also, you know, in the Bible itself, there are two streams of thought. St. Paul would say, you are saved by grace alone. You are saved not by your own work. So Augustine took it from St. Paul. The basic idea of Augustine is human being as such is a sinner. Augustine believed in the original sin. Original sin, as all of us know, original sin implies that Adam and Eve, our first couple, they committed that original sin, and we are somehow part of that original sin. And whatever we do, it is affected by our original sin. So in the New Testament itself, the same thing is found. There is this theological position of St. Paul, which says that you can never save yourself. Salvation comes only from God as a free gift. But in the same New Testament, there is some other people like St. James who would say, no, you are saved by the work that you do. Faith alone will not save you. He says faith is important, but faith alone without work, according to St. James, is empty. So these two streams are present throughout the history of the church. But most people today would hold on to St. Paul, St. Augustine, that you can be saved not by your own work. You can never demand salvation for yourself. Most Christians would believe that salvation comes as a gift. God only can save you. No human being can save themselves. The theological reason for it, if I may elaborate, human being, we have sinned, and you know very well, the Jewish idea is if you have sinned, then no one can forgive you. The victim cannot forgive you. If you have sinned, forgiveness can come only from God. There is no amount of retribution or making substitutes will ever forgive you. The sin that you have committed can only be healed, forgiven by God alone. Obviously, everyone has sinned. Maybe some of us could have sinned in a very serious manner, some of them in a very simple manner. Now, if you have committed even one sin, you really cannot do retribution. You really cannot. It is impossible. The only way to make good is by God and God alone. Therefore, you cannot work out your own salvation. St. Paul, St. Augustine, and most of the saints. Is it okay?
See, for Kuruvilla, this may be a bit confusing, this understanding of predestination. Could you also shed some light on the role of human freedom in predestination? Does it mean that God has condemned you to hell already? Your prayers are not going to be answered. Even if you exercise your freedom voluntarily, positively, there is scope for salvation. It doesn't mean that God has conditioned his grace only to a select few. That may be a bit confusing. Maybe some more light on that area will be appreciated, Kuruvilla, I think.
Let me just share the screen with you once again. You remember the one slide that I have shown is Augustine is one of the very few who is one of the many who championed the human freedom.
Yeah.
We have the freedom to determine our own destiny. To go to heaven or hell.
So when we come to predestination, the point, it may give the impression that God has condemned me to hell. Okay, however, positively or virtuously I may use my freedom, I have no scope for salvation. Such an idea is not involved in Augustine at all. That we need to highlight. That is what I wanted you to state here, Kuruvilla.
No, it is very clear. No Catholic would ever say God has condemned you to hell. At the moment of birth, God has condemned you to hell. The most famous theologian who talk about predestination is one Calvin, John Calvin. He was a Swiss theologian reformist. His theory is that of predestination. The main focus of predestination is God alone can save you. Human beings can make choices, but you can never claim that you will be saved by your own good work. But Augustine will never say that God will condemn you to hell. No, God will save you in his wisdom. God will never condemn you. So no one needs to feel threatened or feel bad that God has already condemned you to hell. No, surely not.
Okay, thank you, Kuruvilla, for that clarification.
Father, I have still doubt when you say this predestination. This destiny and salvation, does it go in hand or is it separately seen?
Once again, sister, repeat
Destiny
that
and
question.
salvation, no?
Hmm.
Destiny and salvation, is it the same concept or it is different concept?
No, when I use the word destiny and salvation, it is the same concept. By destiny, in a theology, there is a concept, they use the word eschatology. Eschatology means the final human destiny. We speak about hell, heaven, and also purgatory. That is the final human destiny. And this is salvation. This is the salvation. Now, theologians also talk about a salvation that is not merely after our death. Salvation or destiny surely includes life after death, but it is not merely after our death. They use the word already and not yet. Heaven is already with us, but not yet fully realized. Our Hindu brethren,
Maybe it is like this, that God will create events in your life so that you what do you call anudapam varathakka reethiyilulla events jeevithathil undaki to turn you back to God. Events will be put inside your life. Using your own freedom, you can turn back to God, but events will be put inside your house, inside your life, and you will be using your freedom so that you will be saved. അങ്ങനെയാണോ എന്ന് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചത്.
See, these are all our theological concepts. What you said is God will help us, enable us to be compassionate. God will make us do things which will take us to heaven. Ultimately, it's very simple. Ultimately, God alone is the author of our life. God alone. We are not our own author. In spite of all our technological development, we are not the author of our own life. And God alone is the author of our destiny, our fulfillment. Now we are using this basic insight is very, very clear. God is the author of our life, our destiny. And this God we believe in is love. Is love. And we know very well love cannot be forced, love cannot be demanded. And we, to some extent, our human beings have got control over. We can do sin, we can go against God's will, but ultimately, God is the author of everything. God is the owner. God owns everything. And God is our ultimate fulfillment. Another theologian would say, God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The Omega, by the way, Omega, I hope all of you know, is also the title of the journal that
Our institute is publishing.
yeah. So Pamplani's journal is titled Omega. Omega means the whole destiny. It is not the destiny only of me as an individual. It is the destiny of the whole humanity, the whole cosmos, a new heaven and a new earth. And that is what we Christians believe in. God is the Alpha, beginning, the Omega. And not only of individuals, but also of the whole universe. Of course, even there are possibilities of mistakes happening. Some people may turn away from God knowingly or unknowingly. Okay.
Okay, we will move on to the next topic, Kuruvilla. Then we can resume the discussion.
Okay. Shall I continue? I have made a brief summary of this about Aquinas. Shall I do that, or shall I go to Augustine according to the notes that you have given?
Okay, that's up to you. Whatever convenient or whatever sensible you may do.
Okay, then maybe I will go into the same very brief summary of this is what our Plato influences Augustine, while Aristotle influences Aquinas. Please note the year. This is actually 1225 to 1274. Remember, he didn't even live for 50 years, just 49 years. But the amount of work that he has written, it is incredible. With no typewriter, no computer, he had to be writing by hand so many books. But at least I want you to remember the names of the two books. Thomas Aquinas was a priest, a religious. He was born in Rome. And this is the series of books that he has written. It is just one volume, and it is just a collection of books, Summa Theologica. Summa Theologica means summary, the whole summary of theology, that he has summarized the basic insights of theology. And this Summa Theologica is actually classified according to number, not just volume, but number, volume, and sub-number. It's its own classification. Huge collection of books. Then there is another series, Summa Contra Gentiles. Summa again means summary against the Gentiles. So he's arguing for Christian faith against the Gentiles, the so-called pagans. Now, whenever you hear of Aquinas, I want you to remember the 5 ways. 5 ways are actually demonstrations about proving God. Aquinas himself is very careful. He says he does not use the word proof. These 5 are not proofs of God's existence. These are ways to show that God exists. He would say, you cannot prove God's existence like in mathematics. A theorem in mathematics can be proved and everyone can believe in it and see that theorem. But for Aquinas, there are 5 ways which can take us to believe in God. These 5 ways are not Aquinas' own. These have been collected, gathered from all others, but he has made a very good summary of it. Let me just elaborate on this. First way is from motion. Motion means any change. It is like a mango seed becoming a mango. For Aristotle, that is a motion, any change. Mango seed to mango, or a child becoming an old man, a plant growing up, or even say the earlier long ago in the solar system, the sun, and then the sun remaining the sun, and then moon and earth. That is all connected with motion, with movement, with change. So the first way starts with that there is in the world change, ongoing change. Now, the last time you remember, we said, who is that philosopher who said everything is change? That was long ago. In one of our discussions, we said everything is change. That philosopher is the Greek philosopher
Heraclitus.
And Heraclitus said, you cannot get into the same river twice.
Twice.
Why is it so?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember, I remember who was it? Augustine was taking the class, or someone
Yeah,
was taking the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot get into the same river twice because
Twice.
everything is changing. This is the phenomenon of the world. Everything is changed. Okay, let me know. Why can't we get into the same river twice? Because
Because of the flow. The
Water is
The
flowing.
water
changes.
has flowed away and the river has changed already. Once you fall into water, the water is moving, water particles are moving, and hence the river has changed actually.
yeah, you will get a pass mark. 50%.
Yeah, by the time you remove your one leg up and down, the water underneath has gone. That moment, so it is not there. It flows so much. The change.
No, that right answer is right, but
Mm.
please remember you are also different.
Yes.
Today you get into the river is definitely different tomorrow, but
Yes.
you are also different. So everything is changed. The river is changing and you are also
So
changing.
changing.
So everything is changing. Everything is in motion. Then from that, Aquinas concludes, if everything changes, there must be someone who causes the change. From the mango seed to become mango tree, there must be something or someone who causes the change. Then there is another one who causes that person to change. So there is a series of
Change.
things which causes everything. Then you cannot go on eternally from one change to another change to another change to another change. There must be someone who is unmoved mover. He causes, so he's a mover, but he himself is not moved. So God is the unmoved mover. While we are all cause and effect. We cause change, the change becomes the effect, and this effect becomes another change. So the series goes on. But you cannot have an infinite chain of series, infinite change of cause and effect. So finally, you must come to a conclusion. When everything changes, there must be someone who is called the unmoved mover. Unmoved mover. The second way is
That means
also,
you are throwing light to what you call the Hindu philosophy, which says there is change from one form of life to another form of life, and the final form is human beings. You are throwing light to that also through this philosophy, isn't it?
wait, did he say what is the Hindu with the final form is human being?
Yeah, that is what is Hindu philosophy say. As a human being, the final form, or yeah, again they say rebirth is there, and you can go to yeah.
So in the final stage, according to Hindu philosophy, is not human being. It is what is it according to Shankara's Advaita. The final form is Kamala. You would know better. But
Yeah,
before
Brahman.
that, I will. Final form is Brahman.
Brahman.
According to Hindu philosophy, okay, if you are born as a male human being, then you are closer to becoming Brahman. The ultimate form is Brahman. You are Brahman. But whether there is essentially no difference between a frog, an insect, and you.
But Kuruvilla, George's question was, is it tantamount to rebirth? Birth after another one is causing, no? Does it also come under the purview of change and movement? That was his question, whether this argument would go along that line.
Yeah, that was also included. What doctor was answering is also a part of the question, and what you have asked also is a part of the question.
Okay.
Both, please throw light.
Yeah. So if you believe in the theory of karma, karma theory does imply the cause-effect relationship. According to the law of karma, you are born into next world and finally you get your liberation. So that can very well be understood as part of the universe in motion, the flux, the non-permanence of the motion. Everything is changing and there must be one who is without change, and that change, that unmoved mover in this scheme of things is Brahman. Okay, second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The second one is very closely connected. That says there is a cause for everything else. There is a cause for corona. There is a cause for getting healed from corona. There is a cause for someone getting fat. So there is the world today that we live in is a world of cause and effect. Of course, some philosophers like David Hume would reject it, but the whole of science today is based on this cause and effect theory. Everyone sees that I am trying to teach you something, so I am the cause for you to learn something else. So everything in this world happens because there is a cause. May not be one cause, there may be 3, 4 multiple causes. But then these causes, the 5 causes that causes another thing, is itself caused by another cause. So there is a greater cause that causes the other smaller causes. So one cause caused by another cause, and this cause caused by a greater cause, and it goes on. So let us say somehow this series must come to an end. The cause of the cause, the cause of the cause of the cause of the cause. So there must be something or someone who is the uncaused cause, the uncaused cause. And that uncaused cause, according to Aquinas, is God. The first proof, you remember, God may be understood as the unmoved mover. In the second way, we would say God is the uncaused cause. God is the cause of everything, but God himself is not caused by anything. Both are related, very closely connected, but do you see the logic of the argument, the power of the argument? When you look at the world, things change, things are caused. Now, something can be caused, like the child is caused by the father. The father somehow is caused by your grandfather. And then it goes on and on and on. But you must put a full stop somewhere, otherwise it will go on and on and on. You cannot have all the causes without a single end. Therefore, we would say there must be an end, a final cause. There must be a final cause which is not caused by anything else, but which causes all other causes. So God is the uncaused cause. Any questions? Is it okay?
It's okay, sir.
Third reason is related, but not exactly the same. Third reason says, Everything that we see around the world are contingent. Contingent means contingent. Contingent means they are there, fine, but they need not be there. Whether it is the sunlight, whether it be the rose flower, they are there, but they need not be there. Everything is there, but there is absolutely no reason why they should be there. I am here, of course, but there is absolutely no reason that I should be there. I am not something which must of necessity be there. Everything in this universe, including the planets, the comets, life itself is not a necessary thing. There is nothing which is necessarily there. All other things are temporarily there. They are there because they happen to be there. They are not there by their own necessity. And things which are there not out of necessity must be caused by something which necessarily must be there. Things which are contingent, must be there because there must be something which is necessary. Another way of understanding it easily is everything is dependent. Everything is dependent on other. Now, if everything is dependent on other, then there must be something which on its own is independent. So all the dependent things make sense only from one independent thing. And we call that independent thing the necessary thing, God. God is the only thing which is absolutely necessary. All other things, whether myself or the pen or the book or this house, all of them are there because they happen to be there. They don't need to be there, but God must be there. So God is the necessary being, while all other things that we know are contingent being. Contingent being.
Maybe the reason behind this is salvation of human beings. The thing that may be unnecessarily be there, be present, maybe, or it can be happenings, it can be material, it can be anything. Maybe the reason behind the same may be salvation of the whole human beings as a whole.
Yeah, but what you exactly said, that you brought in the word reason, no? That reason for all the things, that reason would be God. Of course, God is a full salvation that we know from our Christian faith. But you used maybe unconsciously the word reason. Everything that is there are temporary. They just are there. There must be one reason for the existence of all these impermanent things. And that reason is God. Of course, that reason is the author of everything. That reason, as we saw, is the ultimate destiny of everything, the salvation of everything. Yes. Okay. Now, these three ways, remember, never use the word proof. These three ways we call cosmological ways or cosmological arguments, because all these three, motion, cause, and necessary being, they are taken from the world, from the cosmos. Therefore, these three ways are called cosmological arguments of our great Saint Aquinas. The fourth way, to some extent, can be called ontological argument. Ontology means from the very being, from the very being. This, the first three are not from the very being, but from the cosmos, from the universe, from the change and from the beings in the universe. But the ontological argument comes from the very existence itself. St. Anselm has done a much better way of doing that, but Aquinas to some extent hints at this cosmology, at this ontological argument. His argument is, we see goodness, we experience goodness, we experience love. But the love and the goodness that we experience are of different grade. The love of my mother is more than the love of my, say, friend or the love of a colleague. Therefore, in the world around, we see a gradation of love, of goodness, of truth. So the gradation, the degree of love, we see various degrees. So some, it would be only 10% of love. Some would be only 12 or 13% of love. So this gradation in the virtues, in the qualities of things that we experience, this gradation points to a fact that there must be something which contains, let's say, 100% love. See, you see a little bit of water flowing. The amount of water may be 10 milli or 15 milli or 30 milli. But then 10, 20, 30 milli of water, that implies that there is somewhere the fullness of water, and out of that full tank, the water is flowing down. So similarly, we experience love from different people with different degrees. That's fine. But this points to some love that is full, that is perfect. Now, this perfect love, the fullness of love, leads us to experience this love in a smaller degrees. The fullness of love is called God. So, from the different grades of love, virtue, holiness, we can assume the fullness of love, the fullness of virtue, that is God. The fifth way, that is actually teleology. Teleology means the goal, the purpose, the goal and purpose of a thing. This is also connected with the cosmos. The way we look around, we see that things change, but there is a goal in the life of human beings. From childhood to adulthood to maturity, we reach old age, then the next generation takes over. When we look at human life, there is a goal, or there are many, many goals. So there are so many goals for human beings, for animals, also for the solar system, for the universe. We all know the beginning of the universe 13.8 billion years ago, and things unfold in ways which are very difficult for us to imagine or conceive. So, goals after goals and goals and goals. And we can very well ask, is there a goal for the universe? Is there a name for my life, my human life? Is there not a goal for also plants and animals? And there are some people, unfortunately, who says there is no goal to anything. We would call them nihilist. Nihilists are those who says the world is meaningless, it is absurd, it has no purpose, it has absolutely no go. The trouble is, if you really seriously hold on to this view that there is no purpose to anything, then it is very difficult for human beings to struggle, to survive, and to lead a life worth it. Socrates, he could save himself, but he knew that his life was precious. He knew that his life had a goal, and therefore he was ready to even take upon himself the punishment which the people of Athens gave him. Okay, not just Socrates, the great philosopher, any small child, even the smallest of the flower we would hold from a human point of view, has got its own way of surviving. They would fight against their own death, their own annihilation, because there is a goal to life. And the argument is, if everything in this universe has got a purpose, a goal, then there must be something, somebody that gives a goal to all other goals. Everything has got a goal. Nothing on this earth, in this universe is purposeless, meaningless. And that purpose, that meaning is given by God. So just remember the word teleology. Teleology means purpose, goal. It could be the purpose of a human being, the purpose of earth, the whole life. It could also be the purpose of the universe. So when we speak about the omega, the final destiny, that is the goal as we understand. The final goal is the final destiny, that we can together live in harmony, live a meaningful life. That is the goal. So I have taken a lot of time, but this is very, very important for us. The 5 ways of Aquinas. He has beautifully summed up the arguments of so many philosophers and theologians. The uncaused cause, the unmoved mover, the necessary being, the fullness of all virtues, and the purpose of everything. Again, I just took from the net. Same thing, argument from motion. There must be an efficient cause, that is an uncaused cause. Argument from possibility and necessity. Another word, I use the word contingency. Contingency means that need not be, but that is possible. Everything in this universe is possible, but not necessary. What caused something to exist from nothing other than something that did not have to be created? Why is there something rather than nothing? That is a famous question that philosophers ask. Why is there something rather than nothing? That something is dependent on a necessary being. There must be something which is to all beings the cause of their being, goodness, truth, perfection. So the most perfect being is God. Some intelligent being exists which gives natural things as the plants and everything a purpose or a design. It is also called a design argument. You see in the world a design argument. Okay, now together with Aquinas and all others who followed Aquinas, the school developed which is called scholasticism. Scholasticism means that which belongs to school. It comes from the very word school. And scholasticism is that theology and philosophy taught in the schools during this medieval times in the universities, say from 1100 to 1500. Originally, the scholasticism founded by Aquinas started to reconcile philosophy of the classical philosophers with Christian theology. So basically, scholasticism would say we can bring together the philosophy of the time with the Christian theology. You see these monks sitting in the classroom, studying together reason and faith, philosophy and theology, they are brought together. So the word scholasticism owes its origin to Aquinas. Scholasticism is a method of critical thought which dominated teaching by academics, schools, scholars, scholastic schoolmen of the medieval universities. Most of the universities in Europe originated in these 600 years, including the Oxford University. The term scholastic is derived from the word scholasticus. It means learning, a scholar, a school. The term schoolman is also commonly used to describe scholastics, schoolmen. It is also a program of employing that method, analysis, criticism, combining together, to defend the dogma, the Christian dogma, in an increasingly philosophical or pluralistic society. Therefore, for Aquinas, reason and faith will go together. Theology and philosophy will go together. The 5 ways and the scholastic theology, scholasticism. Remember, he died at the age of 49, but he has been an inspiration for the last 700 to 800 years. Even today, many people follow Aquinas theology, scholastic theology, and there are many schools which are called neo-scholastic theology. That is scholasticism of Aquinas modified for the modern age. That is the neo-scholastic theology. Okay, so that is a short summary of both Augustine and Aquinas. Do you want to have a break or something? I will be taking the next session.
Hi, Kuruvilla, I think you can go ahead. Since
Yeah.
we are at home. Yeah, any quick questions you are welcome.
Yes. Father,
Yeah.
if I understood correctly, Saint Augustine had a view of body, that body versus soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what we see in Aquinas, he is trying to integrate body and soul.
Yes.
So his view was totally different from Saint Augustine's view,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and in Saint Augustine, there is a psychological reason as well as a philosophical root for his view,
Yeah.
Plato's philosophy and his past life.
Yeah.
So, in the same way, can we find any philosophical basis or root in for the view of Saint Aquinas for the integration of body and soul?
See, Aristotle, Kamala Devi, I think, hinted it already. See, the relationship between prime matter and form is not like Plato. Prime matter and soul both are present in the object. The very term Aristotle uses is the form informs the prime matter. There is the form, and that form, let's say, gives shape to the prime matter. And our body consists of both prime matter and the soul being informed. Therefore, for Aquinas, your body, he has the dimension of the bodiliness, prime matter, and also the dimension of the soul, that is the form. You know very well, you are a Catholic, no?
Yes, yes.
And after life, what will you be? Where is your destiny? After life,
Destiny with
yeah,
God.
with God. But what form would be there?
Purgatory.
Purgatory, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
In heaven,
yeah.
in
First,
heaven.
first it would be, yeah. A form, the spiritual form.
Yeah,
Spirit.
but what
Soul.
you will, your body or will your soul, which would be saved?
Soul.
Once again, say it in full English sentence.
I'll be saved as soul.
See, you are not a Catholic actually. Eh? Can
Yeah.
you recite the creed? I believe in the.
Yes. Our bodies will be transformed. Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, you know what
Yes,
happens
yes.
is, this is what normally people would believe, that your soul will go to heaven.
True.
But that is not Christianity.
Okay.
The Christian belief is, okay, so of course the soul will be there,
Yeah.
but it is the soul, the body together. Did she use the word hylomorphism or something? This one?
Not yet, we are only coming to that.
See, what happens is, human beings are not body versus soul, just like Plato believed in. For Plato, the soul only will be in heaven. But for Jesus Christ, if the soul has to rise again, it makes no sense. Resurrection cannot be of the soul, because the soul normally cannot die. No one can kill our soul. Our body can be killed. So for us Christians, we believe, like similar to Aristotle, similar to Aquinas, in the unity of body and soul. So don't use the word even by mistake that your soul will be in heaven. Of course, that is what many people believe in. When
Nisha, what Kuruvilla referring to is the resurrection of the body. In the creed we recite about the resurrection of the body, no? That part also we need to take into seriously. That is what Kuruvilla is trying to say.
Yes, I understood that.
Okay. So the reason is very simple. Yes, please.
Does the resurrection mean that the body will be in the fleshy form or in the form of visible light?
Or in the form of?
Light.
Visible light.
See, what happens is, it is a very difficult question. What most theologians would say is, you remember that Jesus experienced at Mount Tabor, no? The transfigured body.
Yeah, it was in the form of light. That is what I was trying to ask.
Okay, so I mean, in that sense, yes, it is a transfigured, transformed body, which is not merely material, but which is also material and which goes beyond that. Yes.
Now, light is cellular particle. That's why I just concluded as light, as a part of light.
Tell me more about it. This light is
light is particle in nature and wave also in nature. So light is it's a matter. Even though when people are enlightened, there is something known as halo, and so all those things are connected. And when there is a transfiguration, Christ turned himself into a bright light. I mean, in the form of light, and he also says, "I am the light." So connecting everything together, I just concluded it to be a form of light, and I just concluded. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. That is fine. That's a very good interpretation, that we would be transformed, we would be light. But remember, don't reduce light only to the soul aspect. The light is also bodily. This also
including the body, because Christ transformed his fleshy body into a lighty form, of the
Yeah.
body and soul together, and he showed his mightiness to
In that.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Good. Okay.
Further, actually, we can see the same attitude in today's religion in our people also, right? Because many people view their body in a very negative way. So this was something which troubled me for a long time, because I'm a counselor. So when I sit for counseling, I've seen many in many people's depression causes from these kinds of very negative view about themselves, especially those who are very spiritual. They believe this body cannot be accepted, and they try to suppress. So this was something which I wanted to know. What is the Catholic view about this?
See, you're very right in the sense of, I mean, unfortunately, many Christians and many people, they believe in this kind of a view that the world is a very bad place, the body is very, very negative, and sex is also very bad. Now, that is all connected with, to some extent, with the Augustine's view, to a very narrow understanding of original sin. There is a philosopher, I studied him, Paul Ricoeur. Paul Ricoeur would say, Christianity today is nothing but Platonism for the masses. Platonism for the masses. You know very well, Christianity is a religion where Jesus took upon himself body and blood, flesh and blood. And also, you know, Christianity means celebration of the Eucharist, sharing of the meal. But unfortunately, we have been stressing only the Platonic dimension of that soul and that afterlife. That has done a lot of damage, But at least now we are realizing. If you look at the teaching of John Paul II and Benedict also, they are all insisting that the body and the soul together, that is what we are. We cannot just despise the body and save our soul alone. No. Of course, we know that the spiritual aspect is spiritual. It includes the body and it is higher than the body. Pure materialism is of no use. I mean, pure materialism, we cannot say matter alone is the only thing that exists. But what we as Christians or as thinking people believe in is matter by all means, yes. But matter with the spirit, with the soul, body with our mind, with our whole life. See, everything begins with the body. So from our physical needs to our psychological, intellectual needs, you surely would have heard of this Maslow's pyramid. It begins with the basic necessities of bodily. Then there are relationship, psychology, intellectual needs, and finally the need to transcend ourselves, the need to realize ourselves, the need for self-realization. And that begins with the body, but it's not ending with the body. It fulfills at various levels. So for us Christians, when we speak about our spiritual life, it begins with the body, but it doesn't stop with the body.
Madam Kamala, would you like to add something from the Hindu perspective? If at all you wish to add something, any comment, madam?
Kamala, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, Father. Hindu perspective, we know that we are talking about the liberation, the moksha, the mumukshатва of the soul, the Atman. And then we become one with Brahman or Paramatman, we say. So it is dealing with, like, ultimately what is more important is the form. the soul and separated from the body. So that's how I would put it. There are philosophies where the thinkers have said that Sadeha Mukti is also possible. Liberation along with the body is also possible. There are some philosophies. However, the traditional Hindu philosophy would be the idealistic one, like even going very close to Plato. That's what it is. Soul is more important, and it is the form than the body. And so even in case of rebirth, it's the death of the body. It does not matter, because the soul remains the soul and take on the other life. So your soul goes on improving further and further till it gets real mukti or liberation, or becomes one with the God.
Okay, thank you, madam. Kuruvilla, I think we will go ahead with some of the curriculum syllabus now, the content that you can cover a little more, or I think we will have to be selective here since we are short of time. Whatever you can, Kuruvilla, and the rest we can do later. Go quickly.
Okay, can you see the screen, please?
Yes.
This is exactly the note I have already given you.
Yeah, this is the notes I have given. Only thing I did is I highlighted things which I thought are important actually. That's what I have done. You, all of you have the notes, no?
Yes, Kuruvilla.
Shall I go through
please.
these notes?
Yeah, through.
Fast?
Yes.
Okay. Augustine, remember the year approximately 4th and 5th century. Confessions is his major work, and also the city of God. Until the 13th century, Augustine had been studied throughout Europe, and he was against Manichaeism. Manichaeism, which we saw, is the two principles will fight, and ultimately who wins we don't know, the principle of light or darkness. But for all our religious people, Judeo-Christian, Islam, or even Hinduism, we do believe that it is not a fight between light and darkness. It is God, the ultimate light, the truth would win, finally triumph. Just like our Indian motto, Satyamev Jayanti, ultimately the truth will triumph. Epistemology, it distinguishes between knowledge and wisdom. What is important is wisdom for Augustine consists in seeking truth, that is God. That is similar to what Gandhi said, truth is God. And the highest knowledge is contemplation. And this you can get it from the pre-Socratic philosophers, Parmenides, Pythagoras actually, contemplation. Then, even if I make a mistake, that shows that I exist. Descartes would say, cogito ergo sum. I doubt, therefore I exist. Now, Descartes is inspired by Augustine, who says, even if I am mistaken, that means I exist. And for him, I believe that I may understand. My belief, my faith is so that I may understand myself more. And Augustine gave emphasis to inner knowledge, inside knowledge, just like Plato. So they refer to illuminism, that is the illumination of God, the intelligible light that comes to me when I meditate, when I reflect, and when I am with my own self. So, not only at the epistemological level, also at the philosophical level, the fact of the existence of eternal truth is from within, not from without. The eternal truths, the forms of Plato, they are to be discovered from within, not from without. Therefore, the proof for the existence of God is not from external things. We refer to the cosmological arguments. It is not from external things, but from within. Plotinus, Neoplatonic scholar, he would speak about man is an immense abyss. It is a kind of emptiness. Know yourself. Let me know myself to know thee. To know God, I really need to look into my own emptiness and then realize that the God dwells within me. Late have I loved thee, O beauty so ancient and so new. Late have I loved thee. This was a very famous quote from Augustine. He is repenting the earlier days when he led a very ambitious, promiscuous life. Then, connected to this, there is the understanding of the seminal reason, that initial background reason, like the form of Plato. Everything develops according to the ideas in the mind of God. So the forms in the mind of God, then these forms will unfold themselves. And what is very interesting is Augustine has introduced this creation out of nothing. See, during the time of the Old Testament, also, in the creation stories of the Hindu Indian mythologies, the very notion of nothing was very difficult. People didn't have that understanding of nothing. So it is Augustine who first introduced the notion of God creating the universe out of nothing. The Indians have got a lot to do to make this concept of nothing through the Arabians. They introduced the notion of zero, and zero is very closely connected to nothing. And without zero, today's technology and mathematics would not have been there. So creation out of nothing, the very concept of zero as nothing, that is very, very significant. In the Bible, especially in the creation story, God is creating not out of nothing, but out of chaos. There is already the chaos, and God is bringing order into the chaos. Also, in Indian philosophy, there is already the two eternal principles, Purusha and Prakriti, and life begins when Purusha and Prakriti meet each other. So, it is not the pre-existing primitive stuff like Purusha, Prakriti, or chaos. For Augustine, God is supremely powerful, and for him, he is able to create the world out of nothing. This is a development from the earlier biblical vision of creation. Philosophy of man. Man is the peak of material creation. And as we saw already, body is the tomb of the soul. Body is the tomb of the soul, therefore body is okay. Secondary, soul is superior to body, and the soul is handed on from parents all the way from Adam himself. The goal of therefore he believes in an original sin that has been passed on from Adam till today. In ethics, all men desire happiness and the joy of truth, but we may not always do it, but at least some kind of truth, some kind of happiness we enjoy. Evil that we see all around is the privation of goodness. Just like darkness is the absence of light, So evil as such doesn't exist. It is only goodness that exists, but where that goodness is absent, evil emerges. This view is a little problematic, but this was the view of Augustine. In the book Confessions, he spoke about time, and there his understanding of time is very, very modern. God created time, and we can measure time because we human beings can say the prayer, and when we sing or when we say the prayer, we measure time. The present of things, past is the present of the things, the past is the memory, and the future is what we expect, anticipate. Augustine synthesized the best of pagan philosophy into a system of Christian thought. He is to be remembered as a philosopher of interiority, depth, contemplation, get into one's own inner self and find meaning. That is Augustine. Anselm, at the moment, I'm not doing. Anselm is the one who perfected the ontological argument. Aquinas, so many books. He was a Dominican friar, Dominican priest. He joined this order when he was 15, when he was 19. Aquinas studied under St. Albert the Great, who initiated him into the Aristotelian philosophy. He was a theologian, a mystic, and a poet. And after having spent so much time doing research, writing, towards the end of his life, he simply gave up all his writings. He even wanted to burn all his manuscripts also. He had some kind of a mystical experience. And then he said, all that I have written seems to be nothing but straw after having had that experience of God, that mystical experience of God. More than the originality, what is really striking about Aquinas is his boldness. He could capture the whole philosophy and theology at that time and make it into a short, compact, full structure which can easily be understood by people. He was clearly influenced by Aristotle, and he appealed to Greek and also to Arab philosophy. He said, faith and reason can be combined. Faith and reason, they complement and they enrich each other, because God is the source of all truths, whether they be scientific truth, philosophical truth, or theological truth. Faith and reason, they complement each other, they enrich each other. The Thomistic understanding of knowledge, epistemology, is highly Aristotelian. So all those forms, matter, form, intellect, will, all of them are there. Aristotle, like Thomas, is convinced that genuine knowledge is conceptual. It is intellectual. Theodicy, please read once again these notes in the light of our reflections on the 5 ways. It should be easier for you to follow. By the way, theodicy, I want you to know the meaning of it. Theodicy means justifying God in the light of evil. Asking the question, why is there evil when there is an all-loving God. That is theodicy. Justifying God in the presence of evil that we see all around. The first, second, the final cause, the contingent being, the gradation observed in things, and then finality. Another word for purpose and goal is finality. God's nature, towards the end, he became all the more convinced God is he who is. God cannot be named by us. There is what the scholastics say of the negative theology. Negative theology means apophatism or negative theology. It is better to speak about what God is not than to speak about what God is. Doctrine of analogy is also something very important. When I say God is good, when I say my Father is good, the word good is used in slightly connected but slightly different ways. Analogy.
Maybe a little more explanation on the analogy will be helpful, Kuruvilla, since we will be using it frequently.
Okay, you can use words, ordinary English or Hindi words in 3 different ways. Univocally means just one word has got one meaning. One word has got one meaning. For example, if I say a pen, it is a pen. Or if I call you by name, your name and your person, they are connected. But sometimes one word can be used with different meanings. Simple example they give is a bank. The bank is where you go and collect money. The bank is also connected to the river bank. Now the word bank in this sense is used in 2 different meanings. Bank as a place for money, the bank of the river. So these terms are called equivocal words. Univocal words are simple. Most of the words that we use in English are univocal. There are some equivocal words also. One word, the same word, but used with the different meanings. Now, analogy is in between the 2. For example, when I say the plant is alive, the plant is, okay, let's use the word, the plant has life, COVID has life, human beings have life. I am using the very word life for human being, for plant, and for COVID. Now, we understand more or less what life is connecting all these 3. But we know that life as lived by COVID is very different from life as lived by a plant. And that is also very different from life lived as a human being. So here the word life is used with some similarity and some dissimilarity. So when we have words used with similarity and dissimilarity, that would be analogical. It is apart from univocal and equivocal words, many words are used with a sense of similarity as well as dissimilarity. Another word for it is the word foot, the foot of a mountain, the lowest part of a mountain. We understand. But originally, it is my feet and my foot, a human foot and the foot of a mountain. There is a similarity, the lowest part of it. But otherwise, the word foot is also used in a dissimilar meaning. So words like life, feet, or foot, they are used in analogous sense. Is it okay that analogy? Analogy means words used in ways that are similar and dissimilar at the same time. If there is clear-cut distinction, then it is equivocal. If there is clear-cut uniformity, then it is univocal. So now we will make the case for God, and that is where we use the word analogy. Scholastics and Aquinas in particular would say every word that we use in theology with regards to God is used analogously. For example, we say God is Father, God is Mother, God loves me. See there the word Father, Mother, and love. Obviously, there is similarity to God and my Father. God's love and my mother's love, there is a similarity. But there is also a kind of dissimilarity in these three words. So every word, whether we say God is Father or God is love, it is similar to our human experience of Father and of Mother. But it is also not the same. When we say God is Father, it means the full perfection of myself, my relationship with God as the author of me. It is very, very difficult, but at the same time, it is much more genuine and true and authentic than calling my father, my biological father, as Father. So every word that we use in theology about God is analogical. We are using our limited language, using our limited concepts and applying it to a supremely, infinitely beneficial, loving, powerful God. Therefore, all that we say about God being good, being love, being truth, they're true, but they are limited by human concepts. And we get these concepts by our interaction with human beings. We use only anthropomorphic words. Therefore, all the words are similar and at the same time dissimilar. So there is some kind of a dissimilarity between my love to my mother and God's love to my mother. God's love is much more perfect, fulfilling than my limited love. Therefore, every word that I use about God is used as analogy, Here it is wisdom, being. Wisdom is God's being. Solomon has wisdom, but Solomon's wisdom is related to, similar to God's wisdom, but very different from God's wisdom. The theory of being, if you have followed actually Aristotle, it is exactly the same. Essence and existence, also matter and form, change, act and potency. These are actually matter and form, essence and existence. These are terms, act and potency, being and becoming. These are all Aristotelian metaphysics, which our friend has taken. Also substance and accidents. Philosophy of the human person. The human person is that which is the most perfect in all of nature. It is a being subsisting in rational nature. Human beings are rational. The person is not the same as our nature. Rationality is our nature, but we are not the same thing as rational. According to Aristotle, This I want you to note. All living beings have good souls. The vegetative soul, the plants and animals have sensitive souls, and human beings have human souls. In the case of animals and plants, they have souls, but the souls die when they die. But in the case of human beings, according to Aquinas, human soul will continue to live even after human beings die. The animal and the plant souls are mortal, while human souls are divine. We may speak of this as the spark of the divine in the human being. Again, human soul is unique, incomplete, immaterial, simple, subsistent. Subsistent means it exists on its own. Each soul is unique. Human souls are not identical with others. It is incomplete, immaterial, simple. Anything that is immaterial is always simple, and it has got an independent existence. That is what we call it is subsistent. It is also immortal. Human soul is immortal. God's soul is eternal and immortal, while human soul is not eternal. It didn't exist throughout the time. Human soul came to exist only at the moment of conception. So human soul is not eternal, but it is immortal. God's soul is eternal. Ethics, okay, the Nicomachean Ethics of Aristotle. A law built into nature of man, knowable by reason and governs morality. This is what the scholastics call the natural law. The ethics of the scholastics is what we call the natural law. We can learn ethics by looking at nature. We can discern what is good and what is bad by looking at how the nature operates. We have the reason to find out the law of nature, and that law should be followed. When we look around, we know that in nature, we know we should not kill. And from the fact that we should not kill, we come to the conclusion that not to kill is a good thing. From ought, we would actually come to some the morally right thing. From should to ought. It is true knowledge that makes a person free. Therefore, knowledge is highly important, highly significant. Okay, here I have only highlighted Aquinas. Augustine, it is already 10 o'clock.
Fine, but maybe one or 2 minutes. Would you like to dwell on that ontological argument of Anselm also, Kuru? Or later we can do that.
Yeah, ontological arguments, I need at least 10 minutes.
Okay. Then I think we will actually, is it fine? Do you have any quick questions now? Then stop your sharing, Guru.
See, 2 questions. One is regarding Saint Augustine's view on absence of good is evil. So that means evil is existing. That means initially it was evil that existed, and what called goodness covered it, and in the absence of goodness, evil is coming out. Is it so?
No. That means exactly evil doesn't exist at all. It is just like the example is darkness.
But if evil should come out, should prop out, or should pop out, evil has some existence, isn't it?
No. According to this one, evil is the absence of goodness, the privation of goodness. The simple example, you know,
In Bible itself, we see that it sees that we say in our class, last class also I heard that darkness is the absence of light. But in
Yeah.
the Bible, it begins with there was darkness everywhere, and God created light. So initially it was darkness that was present, and light came, and because of the presence of light, darkness is gone. And if there is no light, darkness comes back. Isn't we get such an understanding also, isn't it?
see, you can interpret it and understand that way, but you know, what we are talking of is don't go to the Bible, because that initial
Maybe
biblical
Kuruvilla,
explanation.
one quick comment here, Kuruvilla. George Alex, the darkness that Bible is referring to, it doesn't have an ontological existence as such. Darkness, as Father Kuruvilla has been telling now, should be understood analogically, in an analogous sense. That is not a
Even
duty of the evil here, or the understanding of evil as Satan in the Bible has a metaphorical meaning. Darkness in Genesis also has an equally metaphorical meaning. Therefore, all those references to evil, as you have understood, is not the meaning that theologians nor Bible understand that. But kindly keep your question, hold your question for now. When we come to theodicy, we will take up these issues in detail. Okay, those things.
okay.
There is no difference. Okay, anybody else? Any other question?
It's again about Saint Aquinas.
Mhm.
When we say God is the only necessity, human beings may feel their life as worthless, right?
See, your worth consists in being loved by God, being accepted by God. Your life is precious, unique, only because of God. On your own, see, I am talking now from a Catholic point of view, Christian point of view. A humanistic point of view may be different. You are unique, meaningful. You are special because God has loved you. And because God has loved you, He has created you, He has given you freedom, and He has made you what you are. So it is not because of your own uniqueness that you are special. It is because of God's own. But you know, the God that we believe in is not one who will actually get angry or upset with you. God is love.
Rather than this, ruling out the uniqueness of human existence, God's design for our love would imply that the tremendous potentiality that the human life carries is worth living, because we can become like a gods. That potentiality is accompanying us in this philosophy. That also you can consider for your reflection.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe we shall wind up for now, since we are already long overdue. Thank you, Madam Kamila Devi, for your presentation on Plato and Aristotle. And also, Kuruvilla, your crystal clear explanation in a simple manner, comprehensively, you have presented all these things. Such a way we have covered the ancient Greek philosophy and medieval philosophy in nutshell. Modern philosophy and contemporary history of modern and contemporary philosophy in another 2 sessions also we can cover in the coming weeks. Thank you both of you for your wonderful exposition. I am also impressed with the active participation that you are making. Thank you for your contributions also. So before we wind up,
Thank
can we
you.
allow a couple of minutes more to do some discussions with you about how we go about. As you know, as per the GMU requirement, we will have about 10 to 15 lectures for each course. 10 to 15 lectures for each course. And you know, since we are running over 2 hours on a single day in one session, therefore today's lecture we will consider as 2 lectures. Each day it will be like that. That would mean for one course, we will have about 7 to 8 lectures, 7 lectures. 7 lectures by professors. The rest will be your personal study. 7 lectures we will have for one course. And our one course will be running in 4 months, 4 months are the time that we have stipulated for one course. That means if you are scheduling 2 lectures in 1 lecture in 2 weeks, we will be able to get about 8 sessions. Accordingly, we will have about 15 lectures. 2 lectures in 1 lecture in 2 weeks. At the same time, you should know 2 courses will be running simultaneously, because the 8 assigned courses we are covering in 18 months. The rest 6 months are assigned for your personal research alone, for the research work you will be producing. In 18 months, we will be covering 8 courses. Therefore, 2 courses will be running simultaneously. That would mean about nearly 1 lecture a week for 2 different courses. On alternative weeks, only 1 course will have a lecture. But since 2 courses are running a week, we will require about 1 lecture a week. Since you are especially beginning
1 lecture of 2 hours or 1 hour?
2 hours, then only we are only planning 7.
Okay, that is fine. That is fine. Friday, 2 hours is fine.
Also, I wish to know, but this is not binding. As you pick up more fundamentals now, we can go fast, and also we can assign you more reading material and personal works. Let's just, we will try to cut short. And as we advance further, our mode of study could be that we give you the reading material in advance, and the concerned instructor or professor will be leading the discussion. That will be the mode that we will be eventually adapting to you. Also, I would like to know if it would be Friday or Saturday, which day would you prefer? Which will be more convenient for you? Friday or Saturday?
I prefer, vote it up. I prefer Friday because I will be free for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. ഞാൻ ശനി ഞായർ അവധി എനിക്ക്, അപ്പം ഫ്രൈഡേ ക്ലാസ് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ ഞാനും ഫ്രീ ആയിരിക്കും.
Is it fine with everybody? Friday
would be good for us.
Okay.
Yeah, for me too, Friday.
Okay, then let us keep it on Friday. The only issue was about the diploma course. What Father Noble and me, we are of the understanding that since we are covering most of the issues that you are discussing in the diploma program in detail and in advanced module we are discussing, therefore it is not necessary that you necessarily attend the diploma course. If at all you are keen about the inputs in Malayalam, you can go for the Zoom record. Okay, therefore diploma program will go on as usual on Friday. Simultaneously, we will be holding master's program here. With this feedback, I will schedule the curriculum or the days of lecture for the coming 2 months at least, especially for the history of philosophy. And one more information, maybe in January, early January, as for the course on research methodology, we will need lectures on a couple of consecutive days, or at least an alternate. That will be only for 1 week, from January 1 to 10. That professor from Central University will be from Sikkim will be available. That is for research methodology. You know, that is something very practical. That is not an academic input. Okay, we will have 8 lectures. That would mean about 4 days lecture. From December 31 to January 10, I would like to schedule his lectures. That would mean maybe on consecutive, not consecutive days, alternative days for 1 week, we will have to arrange lectures. If anybody has difficulty in attending that, you may skip that and go for the recorded Zoom. But if you can attend that, that will be very fine. That will be more interactive, because practical tips as to how to do reading, how to choose a topic, how to prepare an assignment, how to conduct a research, all these things will be taught there. That is something foundational for your preparation of assignments and so on. So try to participate in all those lectures, although it is arranged on alternative days. Accordingly, I will prepare the schedule soon and get back to you. Is that okay?
Acha, this diploma course and the MA course, both will not come in same day, right? So you will keep it
Both
as an alternate.
Both are coming on Fridays now, and at the same time also. Since I know you are there for diploma also, no? But doesn't matter. Or if you are keen about attending that, you can go for the Zoom record 1 way. Another thing would be that all that we are dealing in diploma will be covered here.
Okay.
All what you have for diploma is just 25 lectures, no? In all these things. See, here you have 4 times, 5 times more of all those topics. That was what Noble and me were discussing yesterday. That we can free you from the diploma.
Still they can remain members of that WhatsApp group, and if they are interested, they can join for the Malayalam lectures also.
And you can listen to the Zoom record if you are keen.
Yeah, because he was talking about some more apologetic based classes and
more
some
apologetics.
practice, right? Over there. So
Maybe
that's what giving some
or
interest.
one that apologetic session, we can hold additional sessions for those interested in master's program. No?
Oh, yeah.
Apologetics is the only thing different in that one. For apologetics, we will be happy to offer additional sessions for it. Okay. So that we don't miss in that.
Done.
Father Augustine, can I ask something?
Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask if for this master's program, if there is any further online documents, like if we have a certain student email address, do you have any document?
Because, good question. That is what Noble. What can we do about that? Shall we go for a Google Classroom?
Yeah, that will be fine, Father.
Yeah, we will upload. Now I am putting it on the WhatsApp group. No, that is a very general way of doing things. We can be more concrete. I think we will form a Google Classroom on which we will upload all our class materials, and we can facilitate also interaction among ourselves over this platform. That is what we are currently thinking of. That is what I wrote you today, that within 1 month we will settle down with the technical aspects. We will improve upon that. And I am also very busy, novels more than busier than me. Therefore, much time is needed for getting these things established. So kindly bear with us for a couple of weeks more. Okay, Hudai, what more?
I have one question similar to the same subject. Do we need to make notes of this class while classes are going on, or that notes you are providing is more than enough for us?
That is all up to you. For your understanding, this is for your personal training. No? Notes will be given. There are no written examination or oral examination for the courses. As per the GMU requirement, you will be preparing academic style papers. That is the mode of assessment for each course. Academic style papers would mean with the references, you will be preparing research papers on a particular topic that we can discuss at the end of each course. Certain topics we can assign to you. Upon that, you will be preparing an assignments of 5 pages or each on it. For your understanding, you may prepare the lecture. You may take the lecture notes, also read the notes. But ours is not a memory test as such at the end of the course. This will be application, more creative output is solicited of you. So accordingly, for the examination purpose, you need not take notes, but for understanding, you may. Okay, anything else? Okay.
This is to Father Kuruvilla. Can you give more references on the influence of Platonic philosophy in Christianity?
You want additional materials, no?
Yeah.
Yes, references we will give, bibliography, all these things we will prepare. At the end of each of this course, no, we will compile and edit all these notes. And the questions for discussion also we will formulate, and additional references we will give. Also, a lot many electronic and digital resources will be made available to you for your consultation. Okay, a digital library also and the GMU library also, digital library also, you will have access to. Okay, these things will be established in 1 month's time or so, we hope.
Father Augustine, sorry, sir. We can reach the global GMU library in 1 month, or?
That is what Gretchen told me. They have a number of books over there. Otherwise, or along with that, further, I can take this point immediately with them. Also, we have already a lot of references here in PDF, around 1,000 articles we already have here with us. The number of books we have, which is not, unfortunately, not in the digital form, which we will make it digital. Then another option would be that we can suggest you a number of e-books which are freely available, relevant to our courses. Okay, but these 2 courses are more elementary, introduction to theology and philosophy. Therefore, once these things are set and once we are into our specialized science religion topics, you will be provided with the sufficient materials.
Thank you, because I just wanted to ask that if everyone has, because I don't have any way to access the GMU library, so it will be coming later on.
Yeah, it will be coming. It will be coming. This will be made.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then sorry for keeping you up to this 10:20. Thank you for your patience also, and also for the feedback. Thank you, Father Kuruvilla. Thank you, Kamala Devi, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Good night.
So accordingly, we will meet next Friday. keep every Friday free for you as much as possible. But every Friday we will not have, depending on the circumstance. But anyway, next Friday we will have, as it stands, kindly free yourself on Fridays.
Thank you.
Next Friday we will meet. Bye for now. Good night.
Thank you. It was a
Good
great
night.
lecture.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Good.